The humble housekeeper calms the autistic child no one could, and what she did is unbelievable. Maria had always been invisible in the grand mansion on Elmwood Drive. A quiet, soft-spoken woman in her 50s, she moved like a shadow through cold marble halls and crystal chandeliers, her presence unnoticed by the Taylor family she served. She carried her grief like a secret cloak. Years ago, she lost someone she loved, a pain she buried deep beneath her careful smile. Her days blurred together in dull chores and hushed silences, but everything changed the moment she was handed the impossible task, caring for Leo. Leo was no ordinary child. The 7-year-old was known in the household as a storm wrapped in silence, nonverbal, unreachable, infamous. For his violent outbursts that shattered glass and shattered nerves alike. Therapists came and went. Specialists filled thick notebooks with theories and plans, but nothing broke through the ever-thickening wall around Leo's world. The mansion felt like a mausoleum of broken hearts, its cold walls echoing with the distance between family members who barely looked at each other anymore. Maria's first glance at Leo was met with a deafening silence. A boy curled up in a corner, eyes darting like quicksilver, trembling hands gripping the edge of a faded blue blanket. No one could calm him. No one dared try without fear. But Maria didn't come with fancy degrees or clinical jargon. She came with a different kind of weapon, raw empathy and patient, steady calm. On her first morning alone with Leo, she sat on the floor, close enough for him to feel, but far enough not to scare him. No words, no sudden moves, just a soft, steady presence. Hours passed like still water. No change, no breakthrough. Then it happened. Suddenly, Leo's body stiffened. His fists clenched tightly like he was holding on to something far away. His breath hit sharp, almost like a scream trapped inside his chest. Maria's heart squeezed painfully. She felt his panic and stood her ground, silent but utterly still. The house seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a trembling hand, Leo reached out. His tiny fingers brushed against Maria's palm, a touch so light, so unexpected, it rippled through the quiet like an earthquake. In that moment, something shifted. It was as if the cold mansion breathed a tiny sigh of hope. But no sooner had the moment passed than the tension returned tenfold. Behind the locked doors, whispers fluttered like dark wings. She's meddling where she shouldn't. This fragile balance will crumble. And chillingly, an unseen presence watched. A shadowed figure, eyes sharp in the dim hallway light, bent on keeping secrets buried forever. Maria didn't know what she was stepping into, but the lump in her throat told her this fragile thread might tear apart everything. Leo's sudden reaction wasn't just progress, it was a warning. Will the calm Maria offers survive the storm brewing in this house? Or will the shadows drown them both in silence? Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Maria's heart raced as the moment of contact seemed to stretch in slow motion. Leo's fingers grazed her palm, a flicker of hope in a room heavy with despair. But before she could even breathe, a loud crash echoed from the other side of the mansion. The sound shattered the fragile calm like glass shattering underfoot. Leo's whole body froze in a heartbeat. The color drained from his face. His breath came in sharp bursts, and the spark of connection faded in an instant. He pulled back, curling into himself, retreating into a world that felt terrifyingly far away. "Leo, it's okay," Maria whispered, her voice barely a shudder in the vast silence. Then, before she could react, the door burst open. Mr. Taylor, Leo's father, stormed in, his face twisted in anger. "What are you doing?" he barked. His voice sharp like ice. His eyes flicked from Maria to the child curled up in the corner, and his expression darkened even more. "I was just trying to," Maria began, but he cut her off. "Get out. You don't know him." The words were venomous. They struck her with the force of a slap. She shrank back, the enormity of his rage pushing her outside the door. But at that moment, something shifted inside Leo. He looked up, his eyes wide with terror, and for the first time, the power of his silence felt like a storm about to break. "Please, I can help him," Maria managed to plead, desperation clawing at her throat. But Mr. Taylor's anger blocked her words. "Help? You think you can help a child like that?" His voice thundered in the marble hallways. Behind him, whispers erupted. It was the other house staff, shadows skirting the edges of the room, their eyes wide, some exchanging glances as if the tension crackled in the air. Then something happened that froze everyone. Leo stood up abruptly. Trembling, he pointed a shaky finger at Mr. Taylor. His voice, hoarse and thin, slipped past his lips in a whisper no one expected. You're hiding." The room fell captive to his words. Time stood still, every breath caught in confusion. Mr. Taylor's face turned ghostly, as if he had seen a ghost. "What?" he snapped, confusion tinging his voice. "You're hiding the truth." Leo's voice grew stronger, his body shaking but determined. The vibrations in the room shifted. "You're bad." Gasps erupted from the gathered staff. Murmurs flitted in the air. "What does he mean? What truth?" The whispers rode a wave of fear and disbelief. Maria's chest tightened at the revelation. Had Leo just unlocked a hidden story? One that the mansion held deep within its cold walls? "Stop!" Mr. Taylor shouted. But Leo stood firm as a tiny tempest. "You can't hide. You can't." Suddenly, the dim light above flickered, casting eerie shadows. The tension felt like a live wire, ready to snap. Then, with a deafening roar, the lights went out, plunging the room into darkness. Screams erupted from the staff. Maria felt her heart thunder in her chest, adrenaline surging. She reached out, blindly seeking Leo's trembling form, but the shadows closed in. In the chaos, an unmistakable sound broke through, the slamming of a heavy door. It echoed like a mournful chime, marking the beginning of something monumental. What truth was Leo cracking open? What lay hidden within this mansion, buried under layers of silence? As the darkness enveloped them, a single question lingered, haunting and urgent. What if everything they thought they understood was just a facade? The darkness swallowed everything. Heartbeats echoed loudly in the silence, each thump a reminder of fear. Gasps merged with the shadows. Maria reached out into the unknown, fingers trembling, hoping to find Leo. "Leo," she cried, voice quaking. She could almost feel his panic swirling in the air like a storm. "I'm here. Just hold on." A chill swept through the room, tangling with the electric tension. The lights flickered back to life, revealing wide, terrified eyes all around. And then, right in the heart of the chaos, there was a loud thud, a sound that seemed to come from deep within the mansion's very bones. A door slammed open. It rattled the house as if something wanted out. Everyone turned, breath hitching, frozen in place. It wasn't just a door. It was a hidden passageway, old and creaking, that no one even knew existed. Shadows spilled out as it swung wide, revealing a cobwebbed staircase disappearing into darkness. "What is this?" Mr. Taylor shouted, his voice a jagged edge cutting through the murmur of whispers. His face flushed, morphing from anger to something deeper, fear. "What's down there?" one of the housemaids whispered, her eyes darting nervously. Eyes turned to Leo, who stood still, eyes wide. It was as if the chaos around him melted away. I'll go." Leo's voice cracked through his lips, and it was different this time, urgent, commanding, filled with a clarity that startled everyone. The room fell quiet again, as if the walls held their breath. "You can't," Mr. Taylor thundered, but Leo's small frame was unwavering. You don't understand. His voice was shaky, but assertive. As if sensing a shift, Maria stepped forward, heart hammering in her chest. Leo, wait. But he was already moving, the determination radiating off him like heat. He stepped toward the open door, inviting the shadows that awaited. "Stop him!" Mr. Taylor yelled, but his voice fell deaf against the echo of their shocked stares. They watched as Leo took another step into the dark. Right then, something moved at the mouth of the stairwell, a flicker, a glimpse of something alive. The awful stillness shattered. A cold wind gusted out, swirling around them, bringing with it a pungent smell, something metallic, old, buried. It was like a grave had opened. Then, from the depths of the blackness, a soft voice trickled out, haunting yet strangely familiar. "Leo, come." Every heart in the room dropped. All eyes darted toward Mr. Taylor, whose face paled further. "No," he shouted, taking a step back. "Not this. What is happening?" A housekeeper breathed, eyes wide, fear pooling in her expression. But Maria felt it too, a tug in her heart, a rising dread. She had seen that expression before. She had felt it in the very marrow of her bones, as if she were facing an old ghost. "Leo, come back," Maria urged, panic sharpening her words. Yet Leo moved closer, inching toward the voice that seemed to pour from the stairwell like fog. "I have to know," he murmured, leaving Maria with a sinking realization. What if the truth buried beneath the mansion was tied to him? What if what was hidden down there linked him to something darker, something more terrifying than anyone had imagined? The room buzzed with fervent whispers, caught in a web of disbelief and fear. "This can't be right, this isn't happening." But the whispers didn't matter, not anymore. As Leo stepped fully into the shadows, the air crackling with unanswered questions, Maria felt her heart split. The mansion felt alive, awakening from a long slumber. And just before Leo vanished from sight, a chilling thought struck Maria. Who was the voice calling him? How deep did the secrets run? And what would they find buried in the shadows? As Leo stepped fully into the shadows, Maria's heart raced with panic. "Leo, wait!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the thunder of fear in her chest. But he was already moving, inching toward the beckoning. "Darkness. Leo, come." The voice resonated like an echo from the deep, wrapping around him like smoke. "No, Leo!" Maria's scream turned frantic as the hairs on the back of her neck prickled. Everyone in the room felt it. Something terrifying and ancient was awakening. But then, suddenly, there was a swirl in that darkness, a flicker of movement. "No!" Mr. Taylor roared, lunging forward, but it was too late. In a heartbeat, a flash of light burst from the stairs, illuminating a figure in ragged clothes, dirt streaked across its face. Maria's pulse quickened. It was a girl, maybe 13, her wild hair tangled, eyes wide and terrified. "Stop him!" she cried, her voice sharp like glass. But the girl didn't focus on Leo, who stood frozen, eyes locked on the apparition. Instead, her gaze swept toward Mr. Taylor, and the air chilled as she spoke. "You have to tell them the truth." Maria felt a jolt of shock surge through her. "What truth?" she gasped. The murmurs in the room rose, splintered, filled with disbelief. Mr. Taylor's face paled. "You shouldn't be here. Go back." His tone was desperate, fear drenching his words. But the girl seemed unfazed, stepping closer to the light, the shadows clinging to her like they were alive. "I won't let you hide anymore," she yelled, voice shaking but powerful. "You can't keep this secret buried." Maria's chest tightened. There was something familiar about the girl, a thread of recognition weaving through the confusion. "Who are you?" Maria managed, eyes darting between Leo and the girl. "I'm Lily," the girl gasped, locking eyes with Leo, who seemed torn between fear and recognition. "I tried to tell you, but they wouldn't let me." The room fell deathly quiet, everyone frozen in disbelief. "Tell him what?" Maria whispered, struggling to piece together the chaos unfolding. Leo took a step forward, faltering slightly. Lily, is that really you? His voice wavered, trembling in the cavernous space, the connection wrapped around them like a fragile thread. Yes, you need to remember. They've taken everything. The urgency in her voice pressed against them like a storm building. What really happened that night? You have to remember. Mr. Taylor's fury broke, and for the first time a flicker of panic danced across his features. Lily, you shouldn't be here. You can't. But she cut him off, her voice rising. You can't stop the truth from coming out. Suddenly, the whole mansion seemed to shudder in response, walls reverberating as memories clawed their way to the surface. The air went thick, the shadows quivered, and then a crushing feeling washed over Maria. She saw a flash, a scene flickered in her mind, sharp and raw. A dark basement, flickering lights, laughter that turned to screams, pain, a child losing something precious. Stop it! Mr. Taylor shouted, his voice trembling now. You will ruin everything. But the girl, Lily, didn't back down. This is only the beginning, she shouted, her eyes blazing. You can't keep us silent anymore. Maria's mind raced as understanding crashed down like a wave. What happened that night? She whispered, chest tightening painfully. What do you mean? Lily turned to Leo, urgency shining in her eyes. You have to decide who you want to be. They don't own you. Before Maria could grasp the weight of her words, the lights flickered ominously again, plunging them into darkness once more. Searing disbelief slashed through the air. Get away from him, Mr. Taylor screamed, but his voice was swallowed by a haunting silence, leaving the room buzzing with tension. Leo? Maria's heart ached, and the weight of his silence clawed at her sanity. Where did the truth lead? In that moment, a chilling thought hit her like ice. The girl, Lily, had spoken as if they were connected to something deep and dark, buried in the mansion. What happened that night? And why was Mr. Taylor so desperate to keep it hidden? As shadows danced around them, Maria realized with horror that every answer opened a door to an even greater mystery. What did they really know about Leo? And what secret lay hidden beneath the mansion's cold facade? As shadows danced around them, Maria felt her heart race with panic. Leo, wait, she shouted, her voice cutting through the thick air. But he was already moving, inching toward the beckoning darkness. Leo, come. The voice resonated like an echo from the deep, wrapping around him like smoke. With every step he took, a layer of fear unfurled inside her, like an unwelcome flower blooming in the pit of her stomach. No, Leo. Maria's desperate scream rattled the walls, but he pressed forward, eyes locked on the figure emerging from the shadows. The sight of the girl, Lily, seemed to ignite something within Leo. Lily, is that really you? His voice quavered, pouring out a mix of fear and longing. The air crackled with tension, and everyone in the room felt the energy shift. It was more than just recognition. It was a raw connection. Yes, you need to remember, she urged, urgency spilling from her lips, each word a droplet of frantic hope. What happened that night, you have to remember. Maria's heart hammered wildly. This wasn't just about Leo. It was about something buried deep, something dangerous. What happened that night? She gasped, feeling the weight of the questions pressing down on her. Lily's eyes were wild with intensity. They took you away. They took us all away. Every word pierced through the thick fog of confusion in the air. You know what they did. But before any answer could come, the room trembled as if the very foundations of the mansion shuddered. All eyes turned to Mr. Taylor, whose skin drained of color, revealing the raw edges of fear. No, he shouted, his voice cracking as he stepped back, panic spilling from his features. You shouldn't be here. You can't. I won't let you. Then it happened. Everything in that instant changed. A loud creak echoed through the hall, the walls shuddering like a living being. Suddenly, the door to the hidden passageway slammed shut, a powerful force locking them all in. Leo, get back, Maria cried, her voice trembling. But it was too late. He was already stepping toward the closed door, confusion written all over his tiny face. No, it's not safe. But her words felt frail in the swell of chaos. Just then, The lights flickered once more, then flickered violently before plunging them into darkness. "Get away from him!" Mr. Taylor's shout was piercing, but it was swallowed by a bone-chilling scream echoing through the darkness, echoing deeper than anyone expected. The scream came from the hidden passage. The darkness felt alive, pulsing like a heartbeat. A low whisper wound through the air, a chant rising from unseen mouths. "You can't hide," it hissed, voices intertwining like winding vines. Then the light surged back on. Everyone gasped, eyes widening in disbelief as the figure stepped back into view. Only it wasn't Lily anymore. The girl was gone, replaced by something altogether different. A woman, tall and fierce, emerged from the shadows, filled the room like a tidal wave, forcing Maria to step back, her heart racing. The connection between the woman and Leo felt undeniable. Leo blinked, shock washing over him like ice water. "Mom?" he whispered, confusion seeping through every syllable. Mr. Taylor's face contorted in horror. "No, you're not, she's not." But the woman held her ground, eyes filled with a fierce, consuming love that poured out of her like light. "I had to come back. I had to find you." Maria's world spun. Every puzzle piece she thought she understood fell into disarray. Was the boy she had been trying to connect with really Leo Taylor, or was he someone more? What secrets were buried in this mansion? In that moment, every truth began to unravel. As the eyes of everyone in the room darted between Leo and the woman, uncertainty hung heavy like a storm cloud. And one question echoed louder than all the others. What really happened that night? And what had Mr. Taylor been hiding all along? As the woman stepped into the light, her presence consumed the room. "Leo," she said, reaching out with trembling hands. "It's me, your mother." Shock rippled through the gathered crowd. The name hung in the air, heavy with the weight of memories long buried. Maria's heart raced as she watched Leo's eyes widen, reflecting the confusion and disbelief swirling in the atmosphere. The room vibrated with tension. "Mom?" His voice cracked, a blend of hope and fear. "Wrestling for dominance. But I thought you left." "No, I was taken." The woman's desperate thighs bore into Leo's, an anguish spilling from her voice like a shattered vase. "I've been looking for you. We're not safe." Mr. Taylor staggered, backing away as if struck. "You shouldn't be here. You have to." But the woman cut him off, her words sharp as glass. "Your lies can't hold any more, Robert." Gasps spread like wildfire among the staff, eyes darting between her and Mr. Taylor. Confusion swirling. "What does she mean?" a housekeeper murmured, glancing nervously around. "Listen, Leo," she continued, her voice breaking but resolute. "They took us all, your real family. You don't belong here." Maria's chest tightened. What had Mr. Taylor been hiding? "Leo," Mr. Taylor shouted, recovering some composure. "Listen to me. She's not your mother. She's a fabric of lies spun to confuse you." "No, don't you see?" The woman's gaze burned with a fierce truth. "They've stolen your memories. You're not just Leo Taylor. You're Leo Avery. You have a brother, a sister, a life beyond this prison." Sweat dripped down Maria's back as she absorbed the bombshell. Was Leo not whom she thought he was? The implications crashed through her mind like waves battering ashore. All at once, the air shifted, heavy with uncertainty. Leo's small frame trembled, caught in a whirlwind of revelation and fear. "No, I don't remember," he wailed, tears brimming in his wide eyes. "What do you mean?" The woman stepped forward, desperation pulsing through her. "You'll remember. I can help you open the door to your past. The truth is in this house, and it terrifies him." She pointed an accusing finger at Mr. Taylor, who looked on with mounting horror. "Don't you dare," he barked, his voice shaking. "You're nothing but a ghost conjured to haunt us." Darkness pooled around Maria's stomach as she felt the tension snap. Then came that sound, a low rumble, like thunder rolling through the very foundations of the mansion. "What is happening?" someone whispered, unease shadowing their voice. The ground shook beneath them, sending the staff reeling back, torn between fear and disbelief. The room seemed to vibrate as if the walls themselves were protesting against secrets contained within. Then, without warning, a loud crack echoed through the air, and the floor beneath Leo creaked ominously. In an instant, one of the tiles splintered open, revealing darkness swirling beneath, like a portal to a hidden world. "Run!" Maria screamed, instinct kicking in, but it was too late. Leo's terrified eyes met his mother's, and with a scream of horror, he stumbled backward, teetering on the edge where the floor splintered. "Mom!" he shouted, reaching for her, but the space between them twisted, the darkness pulling at him as he fell toward the gaping abyss. "Leo!" she cried, desperation clawing at her throat. "No!" Time stretched in that moment. The room erupted into chaos. Screams and cries pierced the air. In that blur of panic, Maria saw Mr. Taylor rush forward, but it wasn't to save Leo. It was something more primal, more terrifying. With one swift motion, he lunged, pulling at the air, as if trying to snatch Leo back. "You can't!" he roared, and just as his fingers brushed against Leo's, the darkness below erupted. A surge of icy wind blasted through the room, engulfing everything in its path. And that's when she saw it, a figure emerging from the depths. A man with hollow eyes and a face twisted in agony. "Leo, it's time," the figure croaked, voice a haunting echo of despair. Maria's heart slammed into her throat. Who was he? What did he know? Her gaze darted between the unfolding chaos. The air thickened, the darkness pulsing like a living thing. Everyone felt it. Something was wrong. Everything was unraveling. "Help him!" the woman screamed, but shadows obscured her face as the floor beneath Leo crumbled away. And then, just as quickly as it had started, the ground beneath the figure erupted, casting debris into the air, while the man's eyes shifted to Leo, an unnameable horror lurking within the depths. "What truth?" Leo cried, his voice tearing through the chaos. But a wrenching thought pierced Maria. Who truly was Leo Taylor? And in that frantic moment, the power of the secrets hidden in the mansion surged to the surface. What if everything they thought they knew was a lie? The darkness yawned wider, the figure reaching out, fingers stretching toward Leo, as the room dissolved into chaos, leaving everyone, Maria, the woman, Mr. Taylor, and the shadows, trapped in a tumult of uncertainty. "What are you?" Maria gasped, but the answer was lost in the howling wind. Above the madness, one question remained. What truth would they uncover, and at what cost? As the darkness yawned wider, the figure reaching out, Leo froze. The woman who claimed to be his mother felt familiar yet foreign, like a melody half-remembered. He teetered on the edge of the crumbling floor, his heart pounding, fear wrapping around him like a thick fog. "Mom?" he whispered, searching her eyes for answers, for a lifeline. "Leo, no!" Maria cried, but the chaos swallowed her voice. The room vibrated with tension, shadows shifting uneasily, and Leo's father, Mr. Taylor, seemed to shrink back into the murky corners. "Stay away from him." Underneath Leo's confusion, an electric charge crackled in the air. The ground trembled as if the mansion itself was alive, ready to spill its darkest secrets. The whispers swelled, an ominous undertone rising from the depths, feeding off the unease. And then, just as it seemed the world was poised on the brink of clarity, everything shattered. A blinding light erupted from the hidden passage, engulfing the room in a white-hot blaze. It was like the sun had exploded inside the dark confines of the mansion, a force pushing back the shadows. Maria blinked, instinctively shielding her eyes. "Get back, Mr. Taylor," roared, but it was too late. The light broke free and spun wildly, illuminating every corner. In that brilliance, Maria glimpsed their faces: fear, confusion, shock. And then, as quickly as it came, the light focused, bringing the form of yet another figure into view. This time, a man. He stood tall, with an air of authority that snapped the room into a tense silence. "I'm here to help," he shouted. the power in his voice resonating like thunder. "I've come to set the truth free." Gasps rippled through the staff, a wave of disbelief washing over them. Who was he? And how did he know? "You can't just Mr. Taylor sputtered, but the man cut him off smoothly. "Robert, you've kept in shadows long enough." His gaze was fierce, locking onto Mr. Taylor like prey. "You have to face what you've done." In that moment, the atmosphere shifted. Fear twisted into something sharp, raw. "What do you mean?" Maria gasped, her heart racing. "What is going on here?" "Leo," the man said, turning to him. "You have powers that they fear. They won't let you remember, but the truth lies buried deep within the walls of this mansion. Remember." Before he could finish, the ground shook violently. Splinters shot up from where Leo stood, shards of the truth breaking free. In a flash, the shadows danced angrily around the man, as if sensing vulnerability. "Stay back," Mr. Taylor shouted, and the fear in his voice rocked Maria. "You can't bring this back, not now." But as the light flickered above, Leo began to react. A warm warmth washed over him, memories flooding in like a bursting dam. Faces he hadn't seen in years, laughter that echoed in the halls. He gasped, trembling, feeling the weight of realizations crashing over him. "No, I remember." "What do you remember?" Maria urged, stepping closer, her pulse racing. "Everything," he stammered, eyes widening in horror, realization dawning. "The night, the fire, it was me." Suddenly, the air thickened as the man's presence grew more intense. "The fire was not an accident, Leo. They've been hiding this part of you. The truth is that you're not just a boy. You have a gift that—" "They've twisted." He turned to Mr. Taylor, his voice becoming a low, deadly hiss. "You've been stealing power from your own child." A collective gasp echoed through the mansion, reverberating off the antique walls, reaching every hidden corner. Maria's heart sank. The world she thought she understood was crumbling. Every whisper in the hall now sounded more like the roar of a hidden truth trying to escape. Mr. Taylor surged forward. "These lies won't help you," he shouted at Leo, his voice trembling. "You need to forget. Forget everything." And suddenly, the atmosphere shifted again, a wave of darkness rolling back as the man's eyes glinted with something deeper. "The truth is not just buried, it's alive. And if you don't embrace it, you'll lose everything." "What truth?" Leo shouted defiantly, determination mixing with his fear. The man's next words sent a chill through Maria's bones. "The truth is that you were never meant to be here. This family isn't yours, Leo. You belong to something, someone much greater." Before she could process the weight of that revelation, a wrenching sound split the air. The floor beneath them erupted again, sending Leo tumbling back. Maria lunged to grab him, but she felt nothing but the emptiness of the space where he had stood. "Leo," she screamed, panic roaring through her veins as she watched him slip into darkness. As shadows closed in, a thought struck Maria like a bolt. Was this it? Was Leo lost forever to the secrets that had trapped him? Beneath their feet, the mansion seemed to shudder, breathing heavily, inviting them into its depths. What if what they thought they knew about every relationship, every connection, was founded on lies? What if the very essence of who Leo was lay buried deeper than even they could imagine? And who would pay the price for digging it up? As shadows closed in, the weight of the moment hung heavy. Leo's heart raced as the floor crumbled beneath him, twisting into the yawning darkness. "Mom!" he screamed, panic charging through his tiny frame. It felt like everything was spiraling out of control. The light that had burst in was gone, replaced by the thick darkness swallowing him whole. "Leo!" Maria's voice was frantic, cutting through the chaos. But just when he thought he might slip into the abyss, a hand shot out, wrapping around his wrist. It was the man, the one who had claimed to help. "Hold on to me," he shouted, pulling Leo up with a strength Leo didn't expect. Desperation surged, and the boy gripped the man's arm, believing for just a moment that maybe he wouldn't fall. But then, crack, the floor beneath Leo shattered completely. In a rush of panic, Maria lunged toward him as the darkness swelled. "No!" Mr. Taylor screamed from behind, his voice shrill. "Don't let them take him!" Suddenly, out of the chaos, a sharp white light exploded from the passageway. Everyone shielded their eyes as a figure stepped out, illuminated. By the brilliance, the air thickened, charged with energy. Maria felt a whisper of something familiar, something she couldn't quite grasp. As the light receded, the figure became clearer, and a gasp flowed through the crowd. It was a woman, tall and fierce, hair flowing like wildfire, a vision from the past. Maria's breath caught. "No," she whispered. The woman resembled Leo, but older, eyes fierce and unyielding. "Mom," Leo's voice cracked, a mix of disbelief and joy rushing forth. But then confusion rippled his expression. "But you're supposed to be dead." "Not dead, Leo," she shouted, urgency washing over her. "They've lied to you. They've hidden the truth." Suddenly, memories flooded back to Leo. Fragments of laughter, warmth, a family that had been ripped away. "I remember," he stammered, fear and realization washing over him. "No!" Mr. Taylor's face blanched white as the woman's fierce gaze fell upon him. "You have to understand, Leo. She's a ghost. A trick." But then the woman stepped into the light, and everyone froze. "I'm here to take you back, Leo. Don't you remember? Don't you want to know the truth?" In that moment, the ground trembled again, rattling under the weight of buried secrets. The figure that had grabbed Leo appeared ready to speak, but before he could utter another word, the lights shattered, darkness tumbling over them. "Get out!" Mr. Taylor screamed, yet the walls began to vibrate, shifting, as if the house itself was alive and angry. The air crackled, ready to unleash whatever horrors it held. Then it happened. A deafening roar rang from the depths, echoing through the hall. Cages rattled, doors flew open, and the figure from the shadows could only shout, "It's coming!" In a moment of chaos, everything fell apart. The woman lunged toward Leo, grabbing him. "You must choose," she cried. Urgency belted in her voice. Familial bonds twisted in the air. Leo's heart raced as he faced the truth. The man he had known as his father wasn't who he thought. The walls trembled, and with a sudden shift, the hidden door swung open, revealing a darkness spilling secrets all its own. "Mom, is it really you?" he asked, eyes wet. But as she opened her mouth to respond, the truth unfolded like a broken dream. "I am not just your mother. I'm your sister." The room fell silent. Time froze. A knife twisted in Maria's gut, and she realized, all this time, Leo's family was far more complicated than a simple lie could define. His father, the man who had seemed like a tyrant, was shrouded in an intricate web of treachery beyond anyone's comprehension. What hurt more? That Mr. Taylor was holding back their past, or their heart? What would he choose, knowing that his life had been built on lies? What truth would you accept, Leo? The shadows trembled, as if the mansion itself waited for his answer, holding their breath for the choice he had yet to make. What happens next if you embrace your past? The choice loomed like a storm, desperation and possibility swirling at the edges of their fates. In that moment, time stood still, and the mansion whispered secrets of its own, secrets that threatened to drown them all. As the dust settled, Leo's heart thundered like a drum, echoing in the hollow silence that enveloped the room. His mother, or sister, stood before him, eyes wide and shining with fervor. The walls around them seemed to breathe, thick with tension as they all absorbed her words. "You belong to something much greater." But doubts clawed at him. Everything he thought he knew felt like sand slipping through his fingers. "Show me the truth," he shouted, desperation igniting his voice. "What happened to you? What happened to us?" Just as she was about to reply, the floor erupted with force. A deep rumble shook their reality, twisting the air into a whirlwind of chaos. "Hold on," the man cried, his grip tightening on Leo's wrist. A blinding flash cut through the shadows. The earth trembled harder, groans echoing from the deep as if the mansion itself was screaming. They struggled to stay upright, hearts racing. Suddenly, a chilling figure slipped through the chaos. It was another woman, this one tall, cloaked in darkness, with piercing eyes that seemed to burn into Leo. "You think you know the truth?" she snarled, her voice a hiss. "The truth is far darker than you can imagine." "What do you mean?" Maria shouted, drawing closer despite the chaos. "What truth?" "She's coming for you, Leo. She always has," the woman spat, her voice dripping with malice. "Everything you believe is a veil over reality." The room froze, every breath held tightly in fear. Leo felt the world tilt. "What are you talking about?" Panic surged within him, a rattling storm of emotions. "You're not just Leo, not truly. You are the one who can unravel everything. You are not a victim. You are the key." Before anyone could respond, the ground shuddered violently, and the light flickered before plunging them into darkness again. "Not now!" Mr. Taylor's voice rose over the chaos, sharp with desperation. "We can't do this. You're not ready for what lies below. Not yet." "No!" Leo screamed, his voice ringing like a bell in the night. "I have to know." Then, in a blinding instant, the darkness erupted into a vibrant explosion of light and shadow. Shapes twisted and melded together, revealing flashes of memories, past lives, hidden truths. Leo grasped onto the images, breath hitching, as he saw scenes of laughter, fights, betrayal, and a flash that felt familiar. A man, tall and imposing, laughing wide as he took a child. Hold, was that him? "Stop," he yelled, shaking his head against the flood of revelations. "What's happening?" "She's coming," the dark-haired woman hissed again, her eyes narrowing, glancing toward the entrance of the hidden passage. "And when she arrives, everything you thought you knew will shatter like glass." But before Leo could comprehend her words, another figure emerged from the darkness. This time, it was a man. "Celia," he whispered, horror rippling through him as he recognized the face of a ghost from the past, his father. Mr. Taylor's face blanched. "You shouldn't be here." Fires of shock burned in the air and acknowledgement hung heavy like lead. "You are alive?" Leo's voice trembled, struggling against disbelief. "Of course, I am," his father responded, stepping forward. With an intensity that pierced through the fray. "But you've been misled." A gasp erupted from the gathered crowd. Confusion etched on their faces. "What do you mean?" Maria breathed. "What have you been hiding?" "The worst part hasn't even been revealed." The dark-haired woman stepped forward, her expression turning fierce. "Everything operates within cycles, and one cycle has concluded. A new one rises." Then, the man, the one who had been urging Leo to remember, fixed a fierce gaze on Mr. Taylor, making the air still. "What have you done, Robert?" "What have I done?" Mr. Taylor echoed incredulously. "You're the ones who have betrayed us. You're the reason for everything." Tension crackled in the air like electricity, but they had no time for more words. A howl of wind followed a chilling vibration from below, ripping through the hall, heralding something dark and foreboding. The shadows reacted violently, swirling like a storm, twisting closer to the group. "She's here!" the dark-haired woman screamed, her eyes wide with terror. Leo's heart raced faster than ever. What did any of this mean? He felt like a puppet, strings tangled and frayed. And then, with heart-stopping clarity, he realized the darkest truth of all. "I am the key." His voice was barely a whisper. But why? What am I meant to unlock? As shadows twisted and drew closer, the answer hung heavy in the air, chilling Leo to the core. Who truly was he, and what reality lay waiting to unfold as? Everything around them threatened to collapse. Leo, the voice echoed through the chaos, clarity slicing through the darkness. The ground trembled beneath their feet, but he stood frozen, locked into the moment, caught between the shadows and the truth. Your past is alive. Do you want to understand who you are? His sister, no, his mother pleaded, eyes burning with urgency. The air crackled with electricity, as if the mansion was trembling in anticipation. The truth long buried, bursting at the seams. At that instant, Leo felt a wave crashing over him, drowning out the chaos surrounding him. I have to know, he stammered, his heart hammering. He could feel the weight of the consequences, the fear flooding through him like ice water. He turned to Mr. Taylor, his father. Why did you keep us apart? The question hung in the air, raw and accusatory. Silence engulfed the room. Mr. Taylor's face twisted in anguish, a glimpse of regret sparking behind his eyes. I was trying to protect you, he shouted, desperation lacing his tone. From the truth, from her. No, Leo roared, stepping closer to the edge of the crumbling floor. You were protecting yourself. A rush of air swept through, drawing Leo's attention back to the woman who was both familiar and unknown. You're stronger than you know, Leo. This is your moment. Step into the light. Tension twisted like vines around their hearts. Leo closed his eyes, feeling memories breach the surface. Laughter. Warmth. Shadows lurking. A house that held love and secrets in equal measure. I'm scared, he admitted, voice breaking. What if it's too much? Don't let fear decide for you, she urged, and her words clung to him like hope in the dark. Embrace it. You are the key to breaking the chains of this family's legacy. With a trembling breath, Leo opened his eyes to the shadows closing in. Everything around him pulsed with energy, a tangible force binding them all in the moment. Okay, here goes nothing. And then, without warning, a blinding light shot through him. The darkness shivered, recoiling, granting him clarity. Truths unfurled before him, like pages from a long-lost book. Memories of past lives claimed. Voices that had reached out and been silenced. Remember us, whispered the shadows, echoing along the walls. They called out with a yearning that transcended time. Remember the love that was lost. Mom, Dad, I choose to remember, Leo shouted, grounding himself in the glow of the truth. And with that, the air exploded into a kaleidoscope of memories, warmth washing over him, enveloping every corner of the mansion. The darkness waned, pulled back like a shroud, as shadows retreated into the depths of the hall. Leo gasped, pulling his newfound family close, as luminous joy surged through him. I have you, he murmured, eyes shining. We have each other. But Mr. Taylor, a father, yes, but also a man shrouded in his own fears, could not bear the weight any longer. No, you'll ruin everything, he shouted, panic lacing his voice. It's already ruined by your lies, Leo declared, stepping forward, but I'll make it right. As the mansion responded to his declaration, the walls shook, whispers turning to a chorus of acceptance, buoying Leo with strength. The ground felt solid beneath his feet, the air less suffocating. Hope flickered at the edges, beckoning. You can't hide from the truth forever, the dark figure muttered, hair whipping in an unseen wind. With one last glance, she faded and then crumbled like ash. Leo turned to the woman who had fought for him, knew him intimately. Thank you for coming back, he whispered, tears glistening. I will remember and I will fight for us. As she smiled, he felt the fading shadows crossing the threshold. In that moment of reconciliation, he felt their legacy shift, not lost, but transformed. The love that had been buried began to bloom, reclaiming the mansion. Even the cold walls thrummed with renewed spirit. With the dark figure gone, Leo took a step toward his father, voice steady. Will you join us? Reluctance flickered, but something shifted. The mansion echoed the question, ready to embrace change. A tremor of acceptance passed through Mr. Taylor. I'll try, Hand in hand, the family faced the dawn, breaking through shattered windows, light spilling into every corner of their lives. Each breath became a promise. They would forge a new path together. And just like that, the shadows relinquished their grip, becoming mere wisps of memory, no longer in control. With the past laid bare, they stepped forward into a future full of possibility. This is the moment you've been waiting for. If you enjoyed this story and want to read even more incredible tales, you have to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss any of the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button right now because it feeds the algorithm and helps keep these adventures coming. Don't wait even one more second to share this with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. Flood the comment section with your thoughts and theories about the ending. Your support makes all the difference, so let's keep this community thriving.